might seem like I'm just like randomly like picking these off, but even when I like picked this out of the tree, I saw that it had this little Y on it. So that's just like perfect for hooking it on there. Then I can just put my zip tie right at the top. So anytime you can see that little split, because a lot of times if you just do a straight one, gravity eventually will win out, especially if you're buying really cheap zip ties. Those will just slide right out of there. But this one with the hook, 1 or 2 zip ties up top, that'll be there all fall, no doubt. It's August 22nd. Welcome back to the Homestead. Beautiful day here in southern Iowa. We've got right at the beginning of a cold front that's coming through here. It's only a high of 80 today, and we have forecasted temperatures with high only in the low 70s and getting down at 40s at night. So definitely has this itching, feeling like you know, fall's right around the corner, and with these cooler temps, we're going to try to take advantage of it and try to get a few more stand locations at least set up. Really the central plot, that's what I'm going to focus on. You know, when I identified the first stand I wanted to hang on the property, the homestead's always what I envisioned. I'm going to transition over the central plot. We actually parked on the other side of the farm, so we've already spilled the beans a little bit, and we checked out some of the plots on the way over here, adjusted a few cameras, made some transition to fall locations for mock scrapes. Pretty much any camera that I go by today, if I see that it needs freshened up, if I see that it needs transitioned into a fall location, we're going to go ahead and do that while we're down here today, because with these cold fronts, especially this time of the year from here on out, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we start developing that hit list right now. You know, this farm is still new to me. I don't have a lot of familiar faces. I don't have a lot of history to draw from. So hopefully we can start seeing some, you know, familiar bucks that start to become more familiar to us, and you know, hopefully get a name or two developing, you know, on some of these bucks if you know, they become reoccurring, you know, faces for sure. So always fun to be down here in the homestead, make a little progress, a little cooler tonight. Looking forward to being in a tree here shortly. All right, guys, another stand in a tree at the homestead. This is a sweet spot. I mean, you can see up in all these natives, good perspective, where I think more now, especially being up here and seeing this vantage point, this is a spot that you could probably hunt during late season as long as you can get out. We'll have to play with that access a little bit, but you know, we could get deer coming that are bedding off on the east side, working their way through the plot, and then going out to the actual standing grain, which is going to be right off of here. But I've been a little down in the dumps about how how this plot has been looking, but when you get up here, I mean, it's got so much food in it. It's overwhelming. Some of the ragweed that's out there, it kind of, you know, gives you a little bit of a optical illusion a little bit. But I'll spin it around real quick. definitely need to bring the pole saw and clear out a few spots, and I need to play with where I'm gonna have Blake on the tree, but he'll be on the back side over here. This is a sweet spot. So mowed lane, that's right at the entrance of the plot. But then here's the bulk of the plot right here, almost right where Blake's standing right now. That's probably where we're gonna put that scrape post. Get it right here. That way have it at 15, 20 yards right there. And transition right out here to the beans. Well guys, the sun's going down. We were able to get that double set hung here on the central plot, and I'm just finishing up. I'm not gonna be able to finish this tonight because unfortunately I ran out of zip ties, but we went ahead and put a little mock scrape tree out into this plot, because one of the things that's gonna become really apparent on this plot is that it is really large, right? So this is close to an acre in size, and as somebody that predominantly bow hunts, I wanna make sure I can draw them to this side of the plot. So I did two different things to be able to do that. First and foremost, we have two different food sources. So we have the one plot ASAP down here in the bottom, which is in an L shape, and then we have the rut greens off. But then I wanted to draw their attention where the scrape tree, really what it's gonna do is that it's gonna pool scent. So naturally, scent's gonna wanna pool down here where scent flows like water. So picture it flowing downhill. So the scent's gonna pool down here anyway. But if we can have this tree, you know, if they hit on both sides of this, you know, this is going to present broadside shots, give you that much more opportunity to have that, you know, good shot selection, but even just bringing them that much closer. So I didn't have my rangefinder with me tonight. A lot of times I'll have my rangefinder and I'll shoot that, but I want it to be within 25 yards. I want it to be a shot that's going to be within my effective shooting range. And so this is something where I wanted it to be in this specific location. It's weird because since I've had the farm, I've envisioned doing this project specifically. So it's such a weird thing that just planting a stick in the ground with a fence post, you know, symbolizes, you know, it finally coming together. But once you get up into that tree, you realize how good the plot truly does look. And really quickly, I'll just run through how I, you know, kind of work through these mock scrapes, because I feel like everyone has their little touch that they like to do. Everyone has a little different nuances. Me personally, this one, for example, this is going to be pretty standard for a food plot setup. And, you know, I've been using steel posts the last several years. I think it's a lot quicker. It seems it has the same effect on deer. I have done it. I know Owen's had a lot of success where you come out and actually put the post in the ground. That works really well. It's just a little bit more work, where this is, I can just take that post pounder wherever I want to, pick a limb out. A lot of times if you're looking around, identify your trees that you want to have on your actual post. But I just put this in the ground, can set it up within bow range, and then what I'll do is that I'll work the vegetation underneath that, where the bucks are, the deer I should say, not just the bucks, where they're going to have that community pooling of scraping on the ground, rid the vegetation from the ground. That's something I want to do. I do have the Evercalm with me. I'll put a little bit of that in there tonight just to kind of get them to draw their attention to it. The deer herd type scent. And then I'm going to add pre-orbital onto the actual leaves, or if it's a single stick sticking down, because really the thing that I've learned over time, you want a single vertical, you know, downward object, whether that's a rope, whether that's a twig, stick, leaf, whatever it might be. If you have multiples, it doesn't seem like they're as effective. And a lot of times it'll cause your camera to take a lot of blank photos as well too. So single, vertical, you know, kind of keep that belly button type height this time of the year. You know, a lot of people talk about how it's going to go up, you know, as the tree loses its leaves. This probably won't go up a whole lot just because it's already dead now that I've cut it off. But I'll come back through here with some zip ties, and I'll actually add on probably something a little bit more vertical and clean this up a little bit more. But since I ran out of zip ties, this is going to be where we're going to get to tonight on this one. But I love that V shape like that, where I can have both sides of it. So this one's setting up to be, you know, a pretty sweet spot. And as the sun's setting, it just feels like we're foreshadowing some really good hunts out of this tree and spending some time on this plot for sure. kept it clean. All right, guys, it's like 7:30 right now, and Blake and I are going to call it a night down here on the homestead. Good to get some work done down here. It's always cool to hang those first tree stands on a new farm, so really looking forward to this. It was fun to check in on all these plot locations too. I'm really happy with it. It's unbelievable the amount of jumps that these plots have made in just 5 days. You know, we were just down here at the end of last weekend. We're here on Friday now. It's crazy how much difference those plots have made. I mean, they're really out competing these weeds, and that's really great for these plots to have success for this coming fall. No doubt at this point, we're gonna have food on the farm. That's a success, so that's, you know, number one. But we're gonna be back down here tomorrow. I'll be working on some tree stand locations and transitioning my cameras into their fall locations. So lots of work to get done. The to-do list is never ending, and we're running out of time. Gotta get it done. See you tomorrow. All right, good morning, everyone. It is August 23rd. It's the next morning. Blake and I are just getting down to the homestead. And first and foremost, we're going to take advantage of this cooler weather this morning. We're going to do a little scouting in some locations where I have a couple pins that I've dropped on my phone that I know are going to be good spots to run camera here this fall. So I want to go back here and this farm has some cool features from a historical component, and it really plays into, you know, some of the the coolness factor, I'm going to say, on the farm a little bit. So Blake and I are going to come back here, and this is an area that we're definitely going to hunt. You know, this is right on the west side of my property, and it's really cool. So I would argue that this is some of the natural best bedding that I have on the farm already. So right on the fringe of it, different winds, we can definitely do some hanging hunts. So you're going to see us dropping some pins, you know, as we walk through here. But we're going to try to hang a few more tree stands today if we can, at least one for sure, maybe two if we're being ambitious today, and then potentially get some overcast on the ground on some of these standing beans and try to start carving out what those stand locations are going to look like for standing grain for late season. So it's going to be fun to get some boots on the ground, a little cooler. Bugs don't seem like they're as bad as what they've been, so tag along. Let's see if we can't find something today. Could definitely get in that shingle oak right there. I haven't been back here with a full canopy. It just looks so much different. Oh, we're standing right next to it. That's funny. So this is one of the things I was talking about with this property having a lot of cool old history, is that I found two different hand dug wells that are still present on the farm, and one of them's right here, which is really cool. So this is gonna be like its easiest transition right up to where the homestead plot is, right there. So basically right down in this bowl, you got this ditch that runs north and south, bedding to the south. This is a camera that it might run dormant for a little while now, but this is a spot where you're gonna get everything transitioning east and west through this bedding area. We just gotta find the right spot to put it, because you can see an old trail here. There's definitely trails going that way, and a big trail going up the hillside here. We just gotta find the tree to put it on. All right, guys, we're down in, what's almost like a ditch ravine. We're down in the bottom here. And, I think a lot of people would have the assumption that you're not gonna be able to get Cuddy Link service down here, because they think of that and they think of it like cell service. But, these are using radio communication for one camera to another. And so this is a really good example where this is in this bottom down in here. And what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna test the signal on this one real quick. And so I'm gonna test my level. And what I would anticipate is that right away I might have a lower level, but this one's gonna daisy chain off of what's probably gonna be the homestead, which is right up the hillside. But we're down in this bottom where if this camera was trying to go all the way to the home cam, there's zero chance that I'm gonna be able to get service. So the first number that I saw here is that it had 30, and now I'm at 64 is what it's showing. So 64 is really good signal. You're not gonna have any issues with it getting backlogged or anything like that, but it looked like the first one that showed up was 30, and it's probably trying to push all the way back to the home cam, and then it realized, hey, I can daisy chain to the shorter distance right up the hill. So that's pretty cool to be able to have that service down these low areas. That's pretty darn good right there. We're gonna use a combination of sticks on this one, apparently. I only got one of these left. I really like these ladder sections. So kind of a general rule of thumb that I'm always thinking about when I'm using these quick sticks, I've done a ton of hanging hunts with these, is that if I put that top section of this stick right at my chest, that's gonna be a pretty good gap. You know, there are times where I'm gonna try to spread those out just a little bit if I have a taller tree. We got plenty of sticks with us today. That's not gonna be an issue, but if I put that top of that stick right at my chest, that's gonna be a nice, easy step for anybody to get in and out of. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Nice toss, quality work, athlete. So this is one of those muddy outfitter stands, and I have it in a general position, and how I like to set these up is that get your top strap relatively secured to the tree where it's not going to be worried about falling off. And then the next thing that you need to do, and this is the most critical step for seating this into the tree, is that you need to tilt up the platform, and you're going to cinch down the bottom strap as tight as you can, and then you should have to physically force this down. Where if you've done any saddle hunting or if you've done a lot of hanging hunts, this should really seat that stand into the tree, where this is the most critical part of actually making sure that this stand is secure to this tree, is that last final step. Cinch it down, and then you should have to physically force it down. Just like that. Kind of. There we go. Well guys, the stand is set. Rye called this the ditch pinch the other day, and you know, I really had thought that had a nice ring to it. It's kind of tough to say, but Blake and I were just talking about it. I really like how this sets up. It's a comfy sit, but right now visibility is pretty tough. You know, really you just have like a corridor right out in front of us of about, you know, basically 40 yards right now. But as season progresses, you know, that'll continue to get better and better, where I'm hoping you can start to see both sides of this ridge off to our east and west. Obviously, I have a really good view of this food plot off to our south. So this is setting up really well, but the big thing that we're gonna have to do, and I don't know how much trimming we'll actually do today. We probably won't do all of it. I sometimes get hesitant on, I don't wanna do a bunch of oak thinning, you know, and trimming this time of the year. I'd rather wait till the trees start to go dormant a little bit later into September. But I do want to start creating a path to get them to go around this stand location. Ideally coming up to the actual plot itself would be the best way to do that. But we can do a little, you know, basically create a barricade right at the base of the tree. That way they're not going right underneath the tree, hopefully going around us. And this is going to be a close proximity stand. I think this is one of those spots where you're going to see them. You're going to need to get your bow really quickly and quietly, because it's going to happen really quickly. So this is a stand where it's going to be quick, fast, and just whether or not you can make it happen without them seeing you, because we're definitely not crazy high up into this tree. So cool spot though. Definitely setting up to be one that I'm going to be looking forward to for sure.
There we go. That should work.
So now that we have this whole ditch pinch all set up where Blake and I have went through here, and you know, I'm trying to be selective on what I'm cutting. You know, I did cut one oak tree that was right next to another one that, you know, really we just thinned out that area. But now what we've done is we've made this hopefully the main trail. And where I'm standing right now is where I envision a buck where they might just stage here for a second, because so many times they want to stage right on the edge where they want to look both ways, you know, take that second, breathe it in to see if there's anything coming. And then right now, I mean, it's perfect broadside shot. But then even as they work their way out into the plot, just sweeten this up a little bit where now we have a scrape tree, where I love the fact that this one has two branches coming off of both sides. And then ideally, if they work either side of this one, you know, they're going to be perfectly in bow range, where we essentially just topped off a lot of this stuff where, you know, most of it is actually just hickories and some little plum thickets, a little bit of dogwood that are in there. So we didn't feel like we were losing too much. And then this is just thick and nasty underneath the stand. I think it's going to work, Blake. Like the beans down here at the homestead are just starting to turn in some locations, and these are the spots that are right on the edge of the timber, so these are getting the most browse on them as well, where these are a little thinner, where the vast majority of the beans on the property down here look absolutely phenomenal. But we do have some overcast with us. This is definitely going to be some of my standing grain for late season, so I want to make sure I'm getting the most tonnage I can out of those acres. But the big thing is you want to make sure you time this correctly. So if you're not getting, you know, seed to soil contact, this is a good example where, see how you can see the actual dirt and it's not completely canopied out. Overcast can start growing right away. I want to get it in the ground soon, because although we don't have a lot of rain in the forecast, I would like some of this to actually put on some bulbs in these locations. So I do want to get it in early enough to have that bulb production. But just be mindful that if you don't have seed to soil contact, if it's completely canopied out, for one, it's really hard to walk through with your bag seeder. And then the other side of it is that that's not going to germ that seed once it hits the ground, unless, you know, those really start to turn yellow and really start to lose that canopy on these beans. Because you know, it always comes down to timing on this overcast stuff, because don't go out there and just throw it on the ground just to throw it on the ground, because it does have to have access to, you know, water and light. Those are the two big things for components to have success with these plots. Well, we're just creeping up on 3:30 right now, and I think we're gonna call it a wrap for now. There's always more projects that need to get done, and you know, it seems like that's never ending, but that's one of the things I love about land management, is like every step forward, you know, comes with new obstacles, you know, different things you got to adapt to. But we were able to get some overcast in the ground today, seeded some strategic locations that are going to be for standing grain for this upcoming season. Got a couple tree stands in the trees, and I would say that those 3 stands that I now have hung on the homestead, those are probably my favorite spots, you know, that I've identified so far. You know, that's always potential, subject to change in the future, especially once I start spending some time hunting down here. But there's at least 2 more stand locations. I guess technically 3 if we include the walnut set, but I'd like to get one down in that deep V on the ditch on the north side of the property where that pond location is. I definitely want to get one situated down in there, and then I want to get one on the shotgun plot as well. But we're going to talk about this one probably in the coming weeks, but I do have a contractor that's going to come in and do some of that locust tree removal. It's getting a little late in the summer, but he was available to do it, so I'm going to go ahead and jump on it. It's going to be a year's process for getting those locusts in check, so we're going to go ahead and roll forward with that. So we're going to show some of that to you, I'm sure, in the coming weeks as that starts to develop. But it's almost going to be like a reverse TSI process, so we'll try to do our best to identify that process. But you know, anytime we get some free opportunity to come down here, check on these plots, and then hopefully knock off a few more of these stands, this is really shaping up to be a fun 2025 season, and it's nearing just less than a month away. So I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate you guys tuning in here on The Chase.